So, A'ja Wilson was interviewed and probably said something that she shouldn't have said.
A'ja Wilson just caught wind of the Indiana Fever's free agency news, and let's just say she's not handling it well. Her reaction is a roller coaster of betrayal, confusion, and possibly a hint of a midlife crisis. Sue Bird was the one who broke the news, and A'ja didn't hold back. Is it shock, or is she finally coming to terms with the fact that the league isn't a personal playground? Buckle up, because this drama is only getting started.
Access to Indiana, which I think everyone agrees right now has gone from, a team that made the playoffs last year, lost in the first round. They were building all these young pieces, of course, Caitlin Clark, to now an immediate contender with all the moves that they've made. I think Natasha Howard certainly stands out. I loved playing with Tosh.
When Sue Bird speaks, everyone pays attention. She came with the receipts and the boldness to declare the Indiana Fever the clear winners of free agency. But that wasn't all. She went ahead and called them legitimate championship contenders, just like that. Vegas Aces fans were already clutching their paper bags in panic, and A'ja? She was having none of it. You'd think someone had just announced they were canceling basketball for good.
So Sue Bird is one of the greatest point guards of all time in the WNBA. And she's someone who obviously is a part owner in the Seattle Storm. So hyping up another team is a bit of a conflict of interest, if we're being honest.
And the Fever? Oh, they're feasting. They didn't just grab Sydney Coulson, they swiped the Aces face of the league, the whole blueprint, the culture. The vibes are all theirs now. Aces fans? They're spiraling like they just got dumped over text. Tantrums are flying everywhere. Twitter, or whatever we're calling it now, and TikTok are a mess, with Vegas fans screaming into the void like their team didn't just win back-to-back championships.
Coulson from the Aces, she is 100% vibes. She is 100% going to be a backup for Caitlin. It's going to be fantastic backup for Kelsey. She is a great addition to this backcourt. She has senior leadership. She has championship experience. She is the most fun ever. And Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever front office is not messing around. They are putting everything in place to make sure that this year is a championship caliber team, and every addition it gets better and better and better.
If you're familiar with Sydney Coulson, you know she's the heart, soul, and comedic spark of the Aces. Losing someone like her isn't something you just brush off. Sydney leaving feels like your best friend switching friend groups and thriving without you. Brutal. For A'ja Wilson, this is just another hit on the ever-growing list of things that have her second-guessing her life choices. First, the Aces front office makes some questionable moves, let's leave it at that, and now her teammates are bolting like the place is burning down.
What do you mean Sydney Coulson is joining the Indiana Fever? What does that mean? Indiana is just being so fucking greedy right now. They took DB, they took Natasha, now they got Sydney Coulson. Why would they take Sydney from us?
It's giving that how dare you move on without us vibe, while Indiana Fever fans are living their best lives. They went from praying for a glimmer of hope to suddenly watching their team come together like an Avengers squad. Caitlin Clark is on the way, the supporting cast is shaping up to be a serious threat, and free agency? They've already won. Now, with Sue Bird's official stamp of approval, Fever fans are strutting around like they just hit the jackpot.
The expectations have changed. I'm sure the way they're approaching this season has changed. I think the biggest part of DB joining this team is that she's already played for Steph. So I think that's going to help bridge the gap, because as we go along, we're going to talk about Vegas and Seattle, Atlanta. It's really going to be which
Stephanie
team.
White being the head coach.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you.
Was the head coach of Connecticut, now the head coach of Indiana.
A'ja Wilson's left, trying to hold her team together while Indiana becomes the team to beat. She's a competitor, so she'll fight, but let's be honest, she's not happy about how this is going. The real question is, can the Aces recover, or has the power shifted? If Indiana truly won free agency, A'ja and Aces fans might need to accept a new WNBA era. The Fever have gone from hoping for playoffs to aiming for championships. And if you're not ready to call them inevitable, get ready for a fight. No one expected Indiana to rise so fast. And now, no one can argue with them.
Fever team,
They getting paid anyway?
that are no, but players who will be free agents next year. There's a lot of other going on that players are this ain't where I want to be.
They have Caitlin Clark,
They have Aaliyah Boston. They made sure that they re-signed Kelsey Mitchell. That was a big one. They acquired both Natasha Howard and DeWanna Bonner. They traded for Sophie Cunningham. They still have Lexi Hull. And now they have made a move that is literally my favorite of WNBA free agency. They have signed Sydney Colson. Face of the WNBA. If you know, you know. You might look at Sydney Colson's stats and be like, oh, she doesn't really give that much of anything. She doesn't score. She's averaging like 2 points a game. That's fine. The Fever do not need another high-volume scorer. They need a veteran backup point guard who can help manage that offense.
Love DeWanna Bonner. Love Kelsey Mitchell. But Sydney Colson, the face of the league, to the Indiana Fever. Indy, you better roll out the red carpet. I swear. I have to get a Colson jersey now.
Yeah, this is damning. It really is. I gotta tell you. You see this quote. Quote, it wasn't a championship locker room. Wow. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Holy smokes.
Everything was not given, you had to take it. You know, those life lessons have kind of transformed me into who I am now. And, you know, I know that this is not going to be an easy road. I know that this is, I probably took the path of most resistance. But that's what's exciting to me because that's what I've always done and I've always flourished in that.
Okay, and she is very much excited. Scratch that, she is ecstatic to be at LA Sparks. And she's talking about how this is the best treatment she's received as a WNBA player. This is an article.
Treated better than I've ever been as a WNBA player. Which is, you know, that's not an ideal one. It's not an ideal thing to hear from a player from their previous franchise, especially if you're the Aces, who are seen as like the gold standard for WNBA franchise.
Took her baggage, took her luggage, excuse me, baggage sounds very negative in connotation. The Aces are the ones that have the baggage. Kelsey Plum took her luggage and went over to LA. And yesterday...
So the number one reason that we feel she will win the MVP is her level of competitiveness and her desire to be the best. I feel she's ultra competitive. I think she has the Michael Jordan mentality. And she's driven to get better. And I think she's the hardest working basketball player on the planet.
What do you mean Sydney Colson is joining the Indiana Fever? What does that mean? Indiana is just being so fucking greedy right now. They took DB. They took Natasha. Now they got Sydney Colson. Like, why would they take Sydney from us?
The expectations have changed. I'm sure the way they're approaching this season have changed. I think the biggest part of DB joining this team is that she's already played for Steph. So I think that's going to help bridge the gap, because as we go along, we're going to talk about Vegas and Seattle, Atlanta. It's really going to be which
Stephanie
team.
White being the head coach of,
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Thank you.
Was the head coach of Connecticut, now the head coach of Indiana.
Colson from the Aces. She is 100% vibes. She is 100% going to be a backup for Caitlin. It's going to be fantastic. Backup for Kelsey. Like, she is a great addition to this backcourt. She has senior leadership. She has championship experience. She is the most fun ever. And Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever front office is not messing around. They are putting everything in place to make sure that this year is a championship caliber team, and every addition it gets better and better and better.